This is KNX In Depth with Mike Simpson. I'm Charles Feldman.
Still to come, we will go to Uvalde for an update on the shooting and the investigation. We'll also hear from a Catholic archbishop in the region who is there now to try and offer some comforts to the community.
Right now, President Biden addressed the country after the shooting from the White House. The president called on lawmakers to stand up to the gun lobby.
The idea that an 18-year-old kid can walk into a gun store and buy 2 assault weapons is just wrong.
Now, we've heard this talk before, but will anything get done now? Can grieving parents and family members use their sadness and turn that into action? With us, Pasadena-based attorney Brian Claypool. He survived the Route 91 Harvest Country Music Festival shooting in Las Vegas. That was in 2017, and it was the deadliest modern mass shooting in U.S. history. Both of you, thanks for being with us. Brian, let's bring you into the discussion here. Do you think that it comes down to the solution ultimately about restricting gun sales? Is that really the solution? Some countries, of course, have very much stricter requirements for getting guns, and of course they don't have these kinds of mass shootings. Australia had a rash of mass shootings at one point, and then they really tightened up their gun control laws, and they really haven't had any mass shooting since that time, so it was very successful there. But it almost seems like it's too simplistic, or is it?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's not going to happen. Let me share with you that in the middle of that Las Vegas mass shooting, when I was dodging bullets and I could hear bullets hitting the metal around some of the bleachers I was in, I was saying to myself, if I survive this shooting, I'm going to get back into L.A. and I'm going to contact state and federal legislators, and we're going to get an assault weapon ban, right? I was so convinced. Came back to L.A. I'm friendly with our current mayor, Eric Garcetti. He was kind enough to set up a meeting with U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein. I met with her. I looked her in the face. It was 6 inches away from her face. I read a birthday card that my daughter had written me that I almost didn't get to read. I was in tears. She was in tears. She said, I'm going to go back to the Senate, and I'm going to reintroduce this assault weapon ban. It's gone nowhere. This is years later, 10, 15, 20 mass shootings later. What I would encourage your listeners to do is forget about the assault weapon ban. It's never going to happen in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Where we should channel is what Rudy's talking about, right? H.R. 8. In fact, that was never voted on in the Senate, right? Passed the House, didn't get voted on in the Senate. Why would a background check help? Because if you combine that with red flag laws, just so your listeners know, red flag laws is law enforcement can get in and confiscate guns of somebody who might be mentally unfit, somebody who might want to be carrying out mass violence. You don't need to wait a long time to get a court order. You can go in and seize the guns. Well, that helps. Why? Because if we get these red flag laws promulgated in states across the country, then that check or that mark goes on their background. Then you combine that with the background check, and next time these unfit folks want to try to go get a gun, they're not going to be able to get it. So that's a good starting point.
Brian Claypool and Rudy Espinoza-Murray, hang with us. We'll be back with you guys in just a couple of minutes.
Brian, before we took the break, you were making the point about the efficacy, in your view, of background checks and red flags. But here you have this latest unfortunate and horrific incident in Texas where I wonder whether or not that would have been of any effect. This particular shooter, this young man, didn't apparently have any red flags, according to the law enforcement officials in Texas. He had no record of mental health issues. He had apparently no record of run-ins with the police. He was 18 and therefore under Texas law became legal to buy the weapons that he bought. So not to suggest that it isn't always good to tighten up things that need to be tightened, but it wouldn't have helped here.
Well, that's a good point, but I got two responses to that. Number one, here's another change we need to make. You can't buy an assault weapon until you're at least 21, right? You can't drink in most states until you're 21. Do you think your mental acuity should allow you to buy an assault weapon on the first day when you're 18? That's one thing. I don't think you're mature enough. And the second thing is this. I've been pushing for these for years since the Vegas shooting. Mandated reporter laws. What does that mean? I do a lot of sex abuse cases. We have mandated reporter laws where people that are close to the inner circle of a child, if they suspect quote, suspect that a child's been abused, they report that to law enforcement. We need similar laws in our country. How would that have helped here, to your point? Well, we all know that this 18-year-old posted on the internet, I think it was Facebook, pictures of an AR-15, right? What did Facebook do? They just took the picture down and took his account off Facebook. If we had a mandated reporter law, and guess what? Social media would be defined as a mandated reporter. Then they should have contacted law enforcement. We need to create a stake for social media, for people in the inner circle to report suspected violent behavior. That is a way that we could possibly prevent mass shootings in the future.
Okay, we're going to run out of time, so a very quick question and a very quick yes or no. Do either one of you think there will be, within the next, say, 5 years, any material change nationwide in the way people can buy guns? Yes or no?
Yeah, this is Brian. I think we will get a background check law passed, and I think we will get more red flag laws.